Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome to a new film theory reaction, and this is Stranger Things is Lying to You, and it's apparently about ConformityGate, which, God, yeah, I'm laying my cards out on the table here. I've never been a fan of Stranger Things. One, I don't have Netflix, so I didn't really watch it, and two, I've never really been drawn to watch it. But from everything I heard when the series finale happened, yeah, I think we may have had, from what I heard, it seems like we may have had another Game of Thrones ending on our hands. Which, I mean, I heard, like, ConformityGate, one of the things I heard was obviously, one of the characters who's gay didn't end up with their love interest or something like that. And one potential reasoning I heard from that was because the director got a divorce from his wife, so he didn't want any of the characters to be romantically involved by the series end. Or at least that's, something I heard. So if that ends up actually being, true, that's, it's more than a little petty. So yeah, I had, again, no horse in this race at all, but again... But from everything I've heard, it does make me curious. And so, I mean, film theory's here to talk about, so let's see what they have to say about it. So I guess we should probably get this thing started then. So of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video leads to my game theory reaction. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel. Because almost 3/4 of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change, because my next big goal is to hopefully hit 10,000 subscribers. And if you want to support me, but don't feel confident about becoming a YouTube or Patreon member, feel free to use the Super Thanks option underneath all of my videos. But yeah, with all out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Did fans write a better ending to Stranger Things than Stranger Things did? A lot of people seem to think so, let's talk ConformityGate and how Netflix has a lot to learn. Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that is the exotic matter holding the wormhole of your subscription feed open. Go ahead, shoot that subscribe button, do it or the whole website's gonna melt. So after 9 long years, the kids of Hawkins, Indiana have finally grown up and Netflix's biggest show, Stranger Things, has come to an end.
God, 9 years. And this was only season 5, God. Again, that's one of, I'm going to be completely honest here, that's one of the reasons I generally don't watch anything on, Netflix or any streaming platform, really. Just simply because, stuff usually takes so long to come out. It's a similar problem with, TV shows just that are still on, cable and stuff like that. Where, they'll come, you'll have a show that comes out, you get really into it, and then it's basically on hiatus for, 2 years, and by the time the second season comes out, you've completely forgotten where you were and that you even liked the show in the first place. It is just honestly so annoying, and I miss the days when you get, shows where you get kind of consistent, 26 episode series, where you just have, one episode a week after another. I really do miss that. And, the fewer, longer episode series just, they don't hit the same. They're trying to be mini movies.
Well, sort of. There are still tons of books and spin-off cartoons and a spiritual successor and a stage play that is shockingly important to the lore of this series. Really, I gotta hit up Broadway to get the full picture here. What's next? Lore in Fortnite? Oh. Regardless,
oh god, not Fortnite again, no. No.
The main Stranger Things series and all of its adventures with the Psychic 11 and her friends in the Upside Down is finally over. And personally, I thought the series finale had a lot of good and a lot of not. Do I hate it?
I mean, I do, just not like you guys do.
Yeah, the final fight against Vecna and the Mind Flayer was so rushed, and really, we're in the home dimension of the Demogorgons and not one is gonna show up in this final fight? Something that was pointed out in the writer's room and dismissed?
There has to be Demogorgon, bat, dog, something. It's crazy if there's nothing there, I think.
Yeah, it really would be. A lot of the writing was clunky. There's a good reason to believe that some of it was AI assisted or generated, and they went into production without having finished writing the season.
We went into production without having a finished script.
course. You know, I the one thing I think I saw, it was like one of those, like, a Tumblr posts. And somebody had pointed out that, you know, this, I'm pretty sure this is like one of those behind-the-scenes things about the show that Netflix put out themselves. And literally, all the scenes they show of the actors reading the script for the season show every single one of them looking miserable. So the fact that Netflix thought that was a good idea to put out
for the finale.
Have we learned nothing from Star Wars?
Somehow Palpatine returned.
But all of that being said, though there were a lot of holes that didn't make it logically satisfying, I did find the conclusion emotionally satisfying. Like Game of Thrones Season 8, this was not.
I don't want it.
Like, if we weren't going to have some tragic horror story ending with, like, everyone dying, I was content to see all of these characters get their happy, 80s-inspired ending and ride off into the sunset. And I did legitimately tear up seeing the next generation starting their own D&D game and Mike closing that door to the basement where the whole series started. And honestly, that's where I was ready to leave things with these characters. Maybe we could work out something to predict the next series or figure out what was up about Weird Rock, but is there really something to theorize about with this season and these characters, with most of their stories wrapped up nice and neatly in a bow? Well, the internet sure seems to think so. See, ever since the finale, fans of the show started noticing inconsistencies in the final episode and the rest of season 5. Things that just didn't quite sit well. Background extras acting weird, props out of place, decisions characters making that seem out of character, and the fans came to one conclusion. This isn't the real ending to the Stranger Things story, and that idea spread far and wide across the internet.
But I mean, unfortunately, it seems like, you know, no new episodes are being released, so it seems like that really is the ending, and the rest is just wishful thinking.
See, one of the big plot lines of this season was the big bad Vecna bringing some of his victims into a fake reality made from recycled memories within his mind, while their bodies in the real world are forced into a sort of trance. We see this with Max, Holly, and several other kids during the season, but according to these fans, our main character Mike was also forced into this trance, and the epilogue of the show and all of the happy endings never actually happened. And on top of that, Netflix and Stranger Things creators, the Duffer Brothers, have created a secret final episode that will show the true ending for these characters. This theory became known as ConformityGate, named after the book A Wrinkle in Time, which was an important inspiration for season 5, and honestly, this is one of the biggest and coolest fan theories I've ever seen online. So I want to take a look at it, examine all of the evidence, and see if there's actually any merit to this, or did the fans of Stranger Things write a cooler ending to Stranger Things than Stranger Things did?
Yeah, I have a feeling that this is just, you know, a case of really well-written fan fiction. I mean, again, if this was a case of, you know, on top of, you know, AI-generated scripts and, you know, them starting production before they even knew how it was going to end, God, yeah, at that point, like, I think you're just trying to make the best out of a bad situation there. Like, you're just trying to salvage a I mean, as I said, I had no, like, hoarseness rights. I did not like Stranger Things. I wasn't a fan. But, like, you gotta feel sorry for people that, you know, when they have a show like this that, you know, ends up just flopping at the end. Actually, thinking about it too, I wasn't really a fan of Game of Thrones at all either. And again, that had a really bad ending too. So, I mean, I might just have it. Is this a pattern or just, you know, me not watching most media that's put out? You decide.
Wipe that nosebleed off your face, loyal theorists, as we head into the Upside Down for my trash take on this awesome idea.
Leave your theories in the comments or subreddit. I'll pick my favorite in the next episode of Trash.
Okay, so first things first, what's the evidence for this insane theory that Mike is actually trapped in a trance by Vecna? Well, there's a lot of it, like a surprising amount. So the big pieces of evidence that really tipped people off that something wasn't quite right here all comes from the epilogue after Vecna's defeat. I mean, the entire section begins with the screen cutting to black before we hear a clock noise. this is quickly revealed to be someone laying bricks. But given that a clock noise like this was used throughout the rest of the series to represent Vecna and the Upside Down, that's incredibly suspicious right off the bat. And adding onto that suspicion is the fact that you can see several boxes for the game What's-It in the background of the buyer's house and the basement of the final scene. Mr. What's-It was Vecna's pseudonym while posing as Holly's imaginary friend during this season. It also doesn't help that Robin immediately says during her radio broadcast that everyone is different, and that this Hawkins is different from the one she remembers. I'd play the clips of her actually saying that, but a Fleetwood Mac song is playing over it, and we don't play with copyright strikes in this house. Plus, despite Steve being well known for playing basketball throughout the series, he ends up as the baseball coach for the local school kids. That doesn't really make a lot of sense unless we're trapped in the world Vecna created, because he only ever really saw Steve using a baseball bat as a weapon, not a basketball. As for Hopper and Joyce, did you notice that the ring Hopper used to propose was the very same one Jonathan was going to propose to Nancy with? The one that they left behind in the Upside Down and would have been sucked into the interdimensional space when the Upside Down collapsed? Well, if this was a vision inside of Vecna's mind, he could just use that ring in this happily ever after because he knew about it from that unproposal between Jonathan and Nancy. But the biggest thing during this whole epilogue that just really feels off, the graduation ceremony. Yeah, when the main characters are graduating from high school, things just don't feel right. And the longer you look at it, the weirder it gets. For example, why are there several people in the background holding up signs with absolutely nothing on them?
Is that have nothing on it? I mean, okay, I could see, like, maybe there's something on there, but actually, maybe. I was gonna say, oh, it looks like it's written in pencil or something like that, and the camera's just not picking it up, but again, like, why?
Additionally, why are they wearing orange graduation robes? The robes are described as an ugly green when Nancy graduates in one of the canon novels, and orange sure makes them look more like what prisoners might wear, right? Prisoners inside of Vecna's mind? Next, everyone in the actual graduation is sitting with their hands folded in their laps, in a pose similar to how Henry liked to stand. And there's a history of characters under Vecna's control acting like this. When Billy is controlled by Vecna and the Mind Flayer in Season 3, he also stood with his arms folded in front of him, just like this. Plus, several background characters looked straight at the camera, similar to how Henry often looked at the camera too. And even ignoring all of that, everything in this whole sequence feels just very storybook, doesn't it? Like it's a comically happy ending. Dustin gives a big speech that's a screw you to the man, and everyone cheers like it's some cringy Reddit post. He reveals a Hellfire Live shirt, and people cheer. The girl he had a crush on seasons ago flirts with him and asks him to come to a party. But Eddie and the Hellfire Club were so reviled at the beginning of the season that Dustin literally gets the crap beat out of him for wearing this shirt. It's just off. And you know what? For a second, it even seemed like Mike realized it too. During this moment that seems like Mike is having a realization that 11 might have survived, we hear several large booms. Booms that sound similar to the Mind Flayer walking. Is this Mike hearing that through the trance, similar to how 11 heard Hopper pounding on the tank to communicate with her inside of the vision?
Okay, okay. I mean, again, it's sounding convincing. At the same time, though, at the back of my mind, I just keep getting this little nagging feeling again, like with how seemingly rushed this was. I can't help but imagine that a lot of these might be caused by just poor production value rather than being intentional.
Did Vecna put this false hope that 11 might actually be alive in Mike's head to distract him from those footsteps? So those are the big evidence points from the epilogue, but there are several inconsistencies from the lore of the rest of the show throughout these final few episodes too, both big and small. For example, during the finale, the gang head into the Upside Down so 11 can use a sensory deprivation tank full of water to enter Vecna's mind with her psychic powers. So what's the problem here? Well, it's been well established throughout the series that water isn't really a thing in the Upside Down. We don't really ever see any lakes or rivers, pools are empty, and it never even rains despite it storming all the time.
I mean, could they have... I mean, I'm saying this as somebody, again, who's never watched the show, but could they have brought the water with them?
So, how is there water in this tank ready to be used? And according to the theory, these lore inconsistencies are also present during Will's coming out scene, which, first of all, why is everyone gathered for this? Like, for real, why is Murray here? Murray? It's clunky and weird, and might be something that Vecna would plan as a big moment for the group, instead of a smaller human moment between Will, his immediate family, and his closest friends. Anyway, during this sequence, Will mentions getting milkshakes from Melvold's.
We like biking to Melvold's for malted milkshakes.
But the problem here? Melvold's is a general store. Would they really be selling milkshakes at a convenience store like we see in the show? Or is this something from the 50s that Vecna might be remembering from his childhood? After all, they did sell milkshakes at Melvold's, which was a diner at the time, in the play set during Vecna's childhood, unlike what we see in the present day of the show. Within some episodes, there are also inconsistencies with how characters should be feeling. In episode 4, Mike hurts his arm while trying to help the kids escape from the military, and it's enough that he screams out in pain. But this is never really referenced ever again. He's totally fine after this, similar to how Max is able to move and walk again while in Eleven and Vecna's minds, despite her body being too weak to move IRL.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. You know, like the saying that's like Occam's razor, right? I'm trying to. There's another like someone's razor theory. Never apply to malice what you could apply to stupidity or something like that. And really, I have to like calm down a little bit here because, like, again, it's very much the whole thing where like I'm having trouble taking this whole thing seriously simply because Netflix as a company sucks. And seemingly every single thing they did with the ending of the show was just completely wrong. So, again, with this potentially being AI written, I can't help but feel that maybe at some point that may have been, you know, what the ending of the series was supposed to be. Like, there was supposed to be, like, the big fake out and stuff like that. But then maybe it was hastily rewritten so that it was just a literal happy ending. Like, maybe to cut the show, maybe to save money, they literally cut an episode of the show.
Similarly, there are inconsistencies in some props throughout the show. In the radio tower's power generator, the knob in episode 1 is gray, but it's red when they go back to it in episode 9. That might seem like a small mistake, but they already made a big deal out of the color of props being off in major plot points in the show. The way Holly realizes how to get from memory to memory within Vecna's mind is because the center of the roundabout on the playground was a different color in Vecna's mind than it was IRL. Plus, lots of other props and costumes were off in some way, shape, or form. The digital watch that Jonathan was wearing during Will's coming out scene wasn't actually showing any time. And in the final scene of the show, where the main characters are back in the basement playing D&D, the one that's supposed to be an exact recreation of the very first scene of the show, well, the door in Mike's basement is flipped. It's put on the wrong way. And speaking of, Dungeons & Dragons isn't the only game that Stranger Things takes inspiration from, or at least that it uses to foreshadow what's going to happen within the show. All the way back in season 2, we see Max playing Dig Dug, a game about digging tunnels and holes. This ended up foreshadowing how the tunnels were being dug around Hawkins by the monsters of the Upside Down. And, well, in season 5, we see Derek playing a game called Ghosts and Goblins. This is a notoriously difficult old school game infamous for a trick ending. See?
And if I remember hearing about this, I think they literally took this video from not just normal Let's Play, but from a speed run. Yeah, and with this one, if I remember correctly, you basically you beat the game. Well, you beat the game by defeating the devil, and then you have to get the true ending. You have to start over again and do it a second time. God, that was a good AVGN episode.
You would defeat the final boss of the game before it's revealed that it was all a ruse, and you'd have to play that game again, but harder to get the real ending. So, according to ConformityGate, that is what needs to happen to truly defeat Vecna and the Mind Flayer. The good guys will have to go through another fight, but one that's harder. Video games and tabletop RPGs aren't the only bits of pop culture we can point to hinting at ConformityGate either. The song Heroes by David Bowie plays during the end credits of episode 8, but that isn't isn't the first time this song is used in the series. A version of it played in Season 1 when a fake copy of Will's dead body was found, and a cover of the song played in Season 3 in the scene where Hopper appears to die. But both characters were actually alive. The song only plays during scenes meant to mislead the viewer. So is this happy ending not actually real? Similarly, in the final scene, we see a poster for the movie The Thing, a film about an alien pretending to be human and deceiving the protagonists. We know that posters like this can also be used as foreshadowing, since there's a poster in Holly's room for An American Tail, a movie about a young mouse separated from his family, exactly like what happens to Holly here. And if all of this wasn't enough to convince you, there's also some weird meta evidence going on outside of the show itself. For example, Netflix teamed up with Spotify to do radio broadcasts framed as in-universe from the WSQK radio station that Robin runs in the show. During the broadcasts, the hosts were known as Vance and Mindy Flair, anagrams of Vecna and Mind Flayer respectively. And some of the broadcasts had hidden messages, with one of them sounding a lot like "Mike, wake up." Really, all of this is enough to make you stop and wonder and go,
I don't know about you guys, but I don't believe in coincidences.
I mean,
again, it could work. And I would love, for the show to actually be redeemed in some way. But if they were actually going to do this, wouldn't they have done it already? Because again, the one of the main critiques I heard about the show, again, from it taking so long, was the fact that, the actors, they grew up and they're not going to get any younger. So if you're going to do, the ConformityGate, trick ending episode, why not release it, with the rest of the season? Unless you're going to make it like a spin-off movie or something. Oh god, that's what they're going to do, isn't it?
Henry did promise to Holly and her friends earlier in the season that all of their parents and everyone else from town would be joining them inside of his mind. Maybe he made good on that promise and secretly won, defeating the good guys and taking over the world. And if we left things there, honestly, yeah, this theory is really cool. I've been doing this sort of theory crafting for a long time, and this is one of the better supported fan theories I've ever seen on the internet. Now, don't get me wrong.
And given the amount of time left in this video, I'm going to guess there's a rather major but coming up.
A lot of this does kind of go out on a limb when you look at it in a vacuum. There are explanations that you could point to for these evidence points that would hand-wave them away. Some examples? Well, firstly, why did Hopper use the same ring that Jonathan had? Well, it could have just been that the production was reusing a prop. Or, in universe, maybe Jonathan picked up the ring off camera and gave it to Hopper as a sort of blessing to marry his mother. Secondly, the milkshakes line at Melvald's during Will's coming out does make sense. As pointed out by fellow theorist Eric Voss of New Rockstars, general stores like this did sell milkshakes and melts and that sort of stuff back in the day, similar to how you can find coffee shops like Starbucks and grocery stores nowadays. And finally, props being the wrong color, or the door in the basement being backwards, or there being nothing on the signs at the graduation, well, those could all just be genuine mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, especially this one with the basement, who's to say the original set even existed anymore, and they had to rebuild it from scratch for the scene? I mean, it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility that they just accidentally hung the door backwards. Whew. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I had to pause the reaction to go outside and shovel snow because we're in the middle of a blizzard.
If you go and watch the One Last Adventure making of documentary for season 5, one thing that keeps getting brought up over and over again is just how little time they had to actually make this season. They don't say it outright, but this was likely a result of the writer and actor strikes from a few years back. They're rushing to write the scripts, to make the sets, to design the makeup, to choreograph the fight sequences. Honestly, it's a miracle that things came together as well as they did in the final product. It's just a real testament to the work of the artists making these sets and fights and whatnot. But that also means that maybe a prop got painted the wrong color, or a door got installed the wrong way.
Literally what I was saying
If so much of
before.
that came down to the wire, then let me tell you, the same is gonna be true for the visual effects. I mean, we have proof of that in the show itself. There was a scene where you could see Holly wearing clothing made with the Under Armour logo, a company that wasn't founded until 1996, after Stranger Things takes place. But that was a mistake, and was later edited out. I bet we might see the same sort of thing with the signs of the graduation, but with content edited onto the signs instead. Now, I could keep going on and trying to debunk pieces of this theory bit by bit, but I believe that would be missing the point of the theory entirely, because looking at it as a whole, yeah, sure, it makes sense. If you want to believe ConformityGate, that the gang failed, that Vecna defeated them and has them all trapped in his hive mind, living out a perfect world while he ravages the real world with the Mind Flayer, that Mike is the vessel making all of this happen, and that there's a secret tragedy behind this happy ending where all of our heroes got to ride off into the sunset, hell yeah, man, there is more than enough here. Sure, individual pieces of evidence might not be that strong, but there are just so many stacked on top of each other. And as someone who has been theorizing for over a decade, this is how you build these theories. You are not insane for seeing all of this, and honestly, this idea is really cool.
You know, honestly, I would say, God, over all the years I've watched game theory and all the weirdness I've seen them come up with, and eventually film theory afterwards, maybe you are a weird for coming up with this, just a little bit. Not much though. Who knows? Weirdness is a spectrum.
Arguably way cooler than the finale we actually got. But, and this is a big old but, there's a second half to ConformityGate that we have to talk about too. See, while the belief was that all of this evidence pointed towards Mike and the gang being inside of this fake dream world, many proponents of ConformityGate took things one step further. Not only was the ending we got not real, but Netflix was banking on that, and they planned an entirely new, secret episode that would reveal everything and give us the true ending of this story.
I remember hearing about
really,
this.
A lot of people believed this. At first, the thought was that this secret episode would drop on January 7th because the dice at the end credits was a 7. And hey, Netflix's own social media seemed to lean into that market. People found this post made by Netflix in France that just says J7, released all the way back on December 19th. And on Christmas, Netflix's Instagram posted this weird, ominous short saying your future is on its way on January 7th. But that day came and went, and nothing. Then the date shifted to January 12th, 2026, when the official making of documentary for season 5 was set to release. But no, that documentary came out that day and no secret episode. And now I'm seeing people speculate that it might be in March for one reason or another, and guys, that's just not gonna happen. Yeah, well, the theory...
Again, like I said before, I feel really sorry for people that, you know, where they have a show that they like that just ends just falling flat on its face, but at the same time, like, you can't keep, like, just endlessly wishing like that. It's not healthy.
Itself is really cool. It becomes a lot less realistic when we jump from, hey, I think there's a secret story hidden underneath the surface here, to, hey, there's a brand new piece of media that would cost millions of dollars to make that's gonna come out validating this theory. But okay, I hear some of you asking, why would a lot of those official Netflix accounts play into this whole idea if it was a whole lot to do about nothing?
I mean, I'd almost imagine that, you know, the social media managers or whoever they have running the pages is just doing it to drum up, you know, interest in the pages so they don't lose their jobs.
Why would they be playing with fire like that? And that's a valid question. You'd think that with the finale that's been this divisive and with a fan base as passionate as the Stranger Things one, you'd want to sort of step back from this and not fan those flames. But, well, do you know what ConformityGate has been for the show? Free viral advertising.
Of
Netflix's
course.
marketing team probably saw that people were talking about one of their shows and played into it, keeping the focus on the finale just that much longer. Every new post or or TikTok or Reel or Reddit thread might just be enough to get someone to log back onto Netflix to check out or rewatch Stranger Things. And hey, while you're there, did you see that One Piece is coming back soon? Might as well binge season 1 of that too. Oh, and K-pop Demon Hunters is cleaning up at award shows. Might as well throw that one on too. And hey, you know what? I heard that Frankenstein is pretty solid. I might want to watch that as well. And all of a sudden, you're watching more and more Netflix. At the end of the day, the entertainment business is just that, a business. Now, don't get me wrong, it also creates important and meaningful works of art. That's what the creatives should want. But the companies that fund that art, their main goal is to build brands and make money. They literally have a legal responsibility to do everything in their power to ensure that their movies and shows will be profitable. And if that company is publicly traded, like Netflix is, they have to report their costs to their shareholders. Each episode of this last season of Stranger Things cost somewhere between $50 to $60 million to make. Filming another one of those, especially one that would probably be as big, if not bigger than the finale, you just can't hide that from the people who own your company. And on top of that, for a secret episode like this to even be made, a lot of people would have to be very, very good at keeping secrets. See, despite signing a whole lot of
yeah, you need to make sure that you don't have any Tom Hollands on your crew.
NDAs across all levels of a production, film sets are notoriously hard to keep secret. We saw hundreds of photos from the filming of Stranger Things before season 5 came out, shot on drones or by photographers hundreds of feet away. Actors also love to blurt out stuff in interviews, like Tom Holland is infamous for. These press tours are grueling stuff, with actors having back-to-back-to-back interviews often for 10 to 12 hours straight, where they have to be on and performing the entire time. And sometimes they let things slip. I mean, Will Byers actor Noah Schnapp even did this himself, accidentally revealing that Hopper was alive in season 4 before that was revealed.
Hopper has a really good story.
And that's without mentioning the people who aren't actors on and off the set. There's also crew, the craft team, editors, animators, the marketing team, translators, the people who make merchandise, and the hundreds of other people who have to see the show before it comes out.
It's a big business.
An additional episode secret, especially when we had all of the episode title names leaked all the way back in July of 2025? That would mean hundreds, maybe thousands of people keeping their mouths shut on a set that wasn't exactly Fort Knox in an industry that thrives on leaks and rumors. You're telling me that not one person who would have worked on a secret episode of the biggest show in the world wouldn't have leaked it beforehand, even if it was just to their roommate or to a friend on Discord, who then would have spread it far and wide? Listen, what I'm trying to say is that these companies, and Netflix most of all, want to use your love of Stranger Things and even your disappointment of the finale to make a quick buck. ConformityGate is one of the coolest fan theories I've ever seen online. Like, I'm not sure I've seen one as widespread or influential since Darth Jar Jar, and that's been officially recognized by Star Wars at this point. And given how ambiguous the ending for Stranger Things already is with Eleven's fate, if you want to believe that there's something off in Hawkins and that Vecna and the Mind Flayer have taken over the world, yeah man, there's a ton of evidence for it. As someone who has been making these sorts of theories for over a decade now, this one has all of the hallmarks of a really solid one. But sadly, this is one of those situations where the fans of Stranger Things wrote a better ending for Stranger Things than Stranger Things.
In the actual show,
that, in and of itself, is an accomplishment. And in the future, the next time you run into a story that didn't quite end the way you wanted it to, recognizing that and maybe coming up with one yourself, or starting a new project inspired by it, is gonna make you so much happier than hoping for a fixed ending that's never going to come. And that, my friends, isn't a theory, it's a fact. And cut.
Oh God, honestly, I mean, like, I will admit there are some times where, like, I find out about these shows and it's just like, man, like, can I stop hearing about them? I'm really tired of watching. I'm really tired of hearing people talk about them. But even with my, annoyance of, like, these shows sometimes, I still don't want the people to actually, suffer. And, like, seemingly with just how badly the show went, God, I feel so sorry for them. God. But yeah, this is definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.